The movie begins with a tape recording from 2008 where we see a guy named James with his daughter named June. We see June playing with her dad and her mom is watching them. This feels like a tape from a family gathering. But suddenly James suffers from a nosebleed. He says he is okay. The scene changes and we see Grace is editing the video and cutting out the nosebleed part. The wallpaper is a photo of the three of them: Grace, June, and James. We see a quick montage that shows us that James died after that video due to a brain tumor. June and Grace get condolences. To get over this incident, the mother and daughter move from San Antonio to Los Angeles. The scene changes and we are brought into the present. On a video call we see June and Grace have their issues. They don't get along as June finds her mom always nagging. Grace is dating a guy named Kevin. The couple is planning their trip to Colombia. Before leaving, Kevin tries to have a chat with June. Grace also tries to talk to her via SMS. She shares her emotions but June only reacts to the messages with a thumbs up. June still misses her dad and has not moved on from that day. Her aggressive behavior causes tension in the relationship with her mother. She avoids and ignores her. The absence of her mom means partying and having fun with friends. June arranges a party at her house with help of her friend Vina. June is trying to socialize with others to forget about her loneliness. Meanwhile, Kevin is sending pics from their trip. June ignores these things and stays busy at the party. As Father's Day arrives, her loneliness gets amplified. She posts a picture of herself and her dad, cropping out her mom. She posts this picture on Instagram and adds a caption saying, "I wish you were here." Later, we see June hiring some house cleaners online because she forgot to clean her house and her mom is arriving today from her trip. June goes to the airport with a comedic sign that says "Welcome back from prison." Grace and Kevin are supposed to arrive back. June puts a phone to record herself but everyone from the flight gets out except her mother and her boyfriend. June leaves tons of voice recordings to her mom asking about their whereabouts. To check on them, June contacts the hotel and uses Google Translate to understand the language. Through this, she understands they both left the hotel without their luggage. Even the CCTV camera cannot be accessed right now. She also tries to contact the US Embassy to ask for some assistance. Sadly, they don't help her much. Now June has to take matters into her own hands. June's friend Vina sends a link to a website that allows citizens to get access to random public CCTV cameras. June tries to check the CCTV footage, but none of them can be seen in the footage. June doesn't have enough resources to travel all by herself. She goes to a site called Go Ninja that offers freelance help. Everyone on the site is very expensive, but she manages to hire a person named Javier to get the hotel's CCTV footage. But obviously, getting CCTV footage is not legal. June gets credit card history details where the last purchase was made at a hardware store. June tells about this discovery to Javier. He does manage to get a lead. He tells June that Kevin was spotted in a hardware store. Later, we see June resetting Kevin's Gmail password by answering some security questions. Her friend Vina and June go through Kevin's Google location and learn his location was turned off. They also find out Kevin has blocked a lot of women in the past who mentioned him with different names. These girls accused him of stealing money from them. She also finds a girl named Rachel who met Kevin 14 days ago. June tells this to an agent who says evidence obtained in an illegal way won't stand in court. Soon, Javier calls her saying that Kevin only bought a lock from the hardware store. June looks at the most visited place by Kevin, where she finds out a place away from everything in the middle of nowhere. She calls there and talks to a father from a church who says Kevin was a con man who changed his life after meeting Grace and they both were in love. She also finds out Grace and Kevin hooked up through an app called Lovely. She goes through the chats and learns Kevin confessed everything to Grace and admired her. In various videos we see Grace expressing her fear to Kevin. She is afraid because Grace didn't reply to her message and is not home yet. Kevin consoles her. This puts June in a pool of guilt. She ignored her mother to stay with friends and now no matter what she does her mother is not coming home. Even Grace has something from her past which she confesses to Kevin. She asks Kevin never to share this with anyone. In return, he also confesses he had a record. From the Google locations June learns that Kevin bought a lock to go to a lover's point. A lover's point is a place where lovers put a lock on a bridge. Going through the CCTV footage June sees Kevin proposing to Grace on that bridge. Grace says yes and everyone around them starts applauding. But later, when they got out some people in a van kidnapped both of them. June goes through the messages and photos Kevin was sending her on the trip. She notices something very peculiar. Every photo only shows Kevin's face, the face of Grace or the other lady is not visible. Sometimes it is blocked by a light, sometimes it is blocked by a hat. This is no coincidence. But one photo is a small video where it is confirmed that the other girl is actually Rachel and not Grace. The agent assures June they will find her mother. Now that they have the photos, everyone believes that Grace never left Los Angeles. Grace and Kevin took a Uber, but there is no record of that ride in Uber's database. The LYPD believes the driver was hired by Kevin. This missing incident spreads wide in the country and several people are looking for Grace. The authorities believe no one except Kevin can answer the questions. If they find him, they can find her mother. Because Rachel was the one who was with Kevin on the trip, she is arrested by the authorities. But in her defense, she confesses she thought everything was a reality show. Later, June finds out an app on Kevin's Gmail account that allows them to message without history. All the messages get deleted on this app. June has no idea who the other person is. But she pretends to be Kevin and asks for a phone number, making up some lies. The other person gives a phone number that belongs to Heather, the same lawyer friend of Grace who we saw before. June assumes Heather has something to do with her mother's disappearance. June finds a smartwatch with a camera that was left by someone during her party. June decides to wear this watch as a piece of evidence before approaching Heather for confrontation. When June enters Heather's office, it is dark. The PC is erasing the drives, and right on the desk, she sees some stock photos of Heather with threatening text on the pictures. A broken necklace in the corner could mean something happened here. While searching the office, June gets horrified as she sees the dead body of Heather. The graphic scene is enough to bring out screams from anyone. Later, the agent calls June to tell her they have found Kevin at the border. Her friend Vina sends June a link to a live video of Kevin. The video shows Kevin trying to run, but a gunfight between Kevin and the police results in his death. Now that he has had the opportunity to find her mother gets narrowed. All this tension in June's mind is eating her alive. Her aggression comes out on Javier on a video call. Losing all hope, June starts to delete her old voice messages. In one of the voice messages, her mother calls her by the nickname Junebug. June tries this name on her mother's Gmail account. Looking through the account, she finds a blocker user who had sent Grace threatening messages. She also finds out some CCTV footage of a familiar place. After some thought, she realizes this place is her childhood home. The father from church calls June. He is standing right outside the house. Through the door camera, June learns this father is her long-lost father. June and James started talking about the past. James tells her Grace falsely framed him so he ends up in prison and that he never had a brain tumor. June doesn't believe all this after learning so much about her mom. Her friend Vina is calling June. To get help, June sprints over to the PC to pick up the call, but James from behind stops and kidnaps June. A small montage tells us the footage where James's nose was bleeding happened due to drug use. He was arrested because of drug abuse. Some phone calls also revealed James tried to threaten Grace and wanted to meet his daughter. Heather, the lawyer, helped Grace to move to Los Angeles and start a new life. June's mother's real name was Sarah. She changed her name and location just to protect June and give her a new life. James ties up June in her childhood bedroom. He goes into the basement to see Grace, who is miserable and can't escape. To mock Grace, James throws June's sweater to show he bought her as well, while threatening Grace with a gun. Grace waits for an opportunity and fights back, giving James a concussion. Locking the door behind her, she rushes over to June and unties her. To escape, they try everything. June contacts Javier and apologizes for her behavior. She asks him for help. Javier tracks their location through the Father's Day photo that June had posted on Instagram. While escaping, James again shows up and threatens Grace. In the chaos, James shoots Grace in the stomach and jumps over June to tie her up again. But Grace manages to stab James in the neck. He stumbles out of the room. He locks the door, leaving June and Grace inside. Trying to treat his wounds, James collapses on a table and dies. Grace is losing a lot of blood and slowly losing consciousness. June apologizes for her behavior and her childish rage. While this, June remembers her mother's obsession with Siri. She commands Siri to call the cops. Both get rescued in a while and Grace is provided with medical attention. Later, the scene changes. We see June and Grace are now enjoying each other's company and have kept in contact with Javier, who helped June during this incident. June tries to keep her childish behavior away and appreciates her mom for whatever she did for her. In the end, we see June on a video call with Grace where they talk emotionally. After hanging up the call, June says "love you" to her mother. This shows at last she expressed her true love to her mother and moved on from the past.